Welcome to another episode of VGN Weekly. Members of the Virtual Grip crew will recap the previous week's races and bring us one-on-one interviews with racers, league owners, and commentators, as well as others from within the sim racing community. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's go find some grip.
As the Virtual Grip Network gears up for another week of action-packed racing, let's take a look back at last week's winners. The BRL Yesteryear Racing Cup Series would head to Bristol Motor Speedway for the final race of Round 1 of the playoffs. Tom Ogle would lead 132 of the 250 laps as he takes the win, locking himself into Round 2 of the playoffs. Yesteryear Racing's Modified Series would visit Langley Speedway for 250 laps. Eric Essery would pull away late in the race, taking the win over Chris Davis and Ken Allen. Red Light Racing's Skidder Creek SK Modified Series would head to Bristol Motor Speedway for 200 laps. Eric Stout would lead most of the race before little brother Patrick Stout would pass him late to take the win. The BRL Stone River Shootout would be at Southern National for 125 laps. Todd Liston would lead the most laps at 114, but lose it late to James Lowe, who would hold off Matt Hoos for the win of the shoot.
And welcome to VGN Weekly. I'm your host, John Hine, along with Josh Buckley. And this week we've got a very special guest. It's going to be none other than James Lowe. And James is fresh off winning the BRL Shootout, which is basically an all-star champions event held last night. And James, welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate you for having me.
Well, I tell you, not going to say you've been slacking because, you've definitely bagged a lot of wins over the last year. You took a little hiatus for BRL, have come back, you've won championships, but you add your name to a pretty elite group in BRL lore. Everything from J.R. Shepard, Mike Holloway, Matt Hoos, all those guys that have been staples of BRL have got their name on that trophy. And now you get to add yours. So how did it feel last night when you won? Could you kind of sense it was different than a regular Saturday night show?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing that Lowell's got going on here with this kind of all-star event. And last night was a challenge. Ran out of time, so I didn't get to qualify. So we had to start shotgun and work our way up through there. But it all worked out, and we got the win there.
Well, walk me through. You said you you didn't get enough time to qualify. What happened there?
Yeah, they just ran out of time, honestly. And I was the fastest in practice, so I was the last one to qualify. So, just didn't get to go out. But that was all right. I was kind of okay with it. Started from the back and just went from there.
Well, starting from the back end, let's walk through your race here. You've got your work cut out for you. You're towards the back, which, you've seen many times before because I've called races. I've been in races where I've watched you drive right on by, and you've done this before. This one was a little bit longer. So was your strategy and your thought process any different than what it was on a regular Saturday night race?
Not necessarily. The only thing that could have possibly went different was we had a set of tires that we could change. But I went into the race. I was going to try to do it without even thinking about doing that. So at the beginning, we just kind of rode there and picked off who we could pick off. And then as the tires started to wear, the passes started to get a lot easier. And just kind of went up through there. And before you knew it, I was fifth. We had a caution. They got me up to fifth. And from there, it was just kind of just pick them off one by one there. And I think lap 115 or so, I finally got under Todd and took the lead. So it's pretty fun. Everybody raced really clean, and there was no carnage in front of me, so that was always a plus.
Josh?
So with curiosity on that. Like you said, you didn't plan to take tires, especially having the extra set of tires with that car burning up the right front. Um, Obviously, you do race around these guys a lot, so you probably get everybody's driving style. So did that go into your mindset with the strategy of how you're going to pass people, or when you plan to pass people, or charging from the back? Obviously, my biggest concern is going to be like you want to gain positions as fast as you can, but you have that right front to think about. So what was there anything different in that, or is it just that you knew the guys you had to get to, and eventually they burn their stuff up, and you can just go from there? Or how'd that go?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like every week. In practice, I kind of figured out a lap time that I thought would work to make it to the end. Um, and I just kind of ran that lap time the whole race. And you could see people that were getting on the gas a little bit too quick. They were pushing out towards the wall, and the cars were super loose last night, so you could see people getting loose. And um, I knew once I got up under them, it wouldn't be a big issue. But yeah, you just kind of take it as you come up to somebody and see how they're driving. And you could see most of them were just hitting the gas a little bit too quick, and which was an advantage for me, so I could get up under them and pass them.
You guys raced at Southern National last night, and I've often said, that track is a lot of fun because there's a lot of challenges. You've got to, to go faster, you've got to carry a lot of speed through the corner, really keep your momentum up. Um, you know, uh, but when you do that, you've got to manage that with, like you said, that right front wearing the tires out. I've raced the last couple times I've raced there though. I think if I remember correctly, wearing the back tire was just as easy to do as wearing the front. Did you have any of that last night?
Yeah, there was definitely some of that going on, especially if you got into the gas too fast, you'd spin up that right rear, and it was very evident on some people towards the end of the race, especially. Everybody was a little bit tail happy, including myself. Um, but yeah, pretty much, I think the biggest issues that some people have is they just drive it in way too hard, and I'm a very light braker. I don't use a whole lot of brakes. I don't care where we go. And so I kind of ease it in there and then drive hard off. Um, but I think a lot of people, they drive it in there really hard and they try to drive it out really hard. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds. They're getting the right front and the right rear in one lap, So um, yeah, so I was just kind of taking my time there and not really worried about getting to the front too fast since it was a long race. And yeah, eventually we got up there.
Josh?
So, kind of take me through what this means for you winning the shootout. Like, obviously, like we said, you've won championships, anything like that. Is this like a bigger pedestal kind of race? Is this just like a kind of bragging rights thing for you? Like, take me through like what where you hold this race, especially winning it.
I mean, it's cool to have your name up there with the J.R. Shepherds of the world. For the longest time, he was a thorn in my side trying to win races back in the day because he would win them all. But yeah, it taught me a lot in those times about my racecraft really picked up around those times. So now I feel like I got a good grasp on it, and these races they're just fun to go out and do. It's nothing really to brag about or anything like that. You kind of just want to race, but it's cool to have your name up there with the elites of BRL because there's been a lot of great drivers come through here, and it's good to have your name up there with them.
You started in the back and, working your way through, and it's a lot of fun, towards the back of the pack, you're passing folks and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it's hard to gauge exactly where you're at as opposed to leaders, from lap time standpoint. At what point did it click to you that, hey, I've got something for them and I can win this?
Um, I don't know. I think I got up to like ninth on I don't know lap 40 or so, and my car was still turning really good at that point, and I hadn't really pushed it at all at that point. So I felt pretty good about it then, and just from practice, just sticking to my lap time there, felt like I was going to be okay. Obviously, you never know until you get there, but yeah, I just literally ran that same lap time until the very end there when I was in the lead. I kind of pushed a little bit. I think I ran my fastest lap time right at the end there, but but yeah, I just kind of rode around And as people would slip up, I'd pass them and keep on going forward that way.
Josh.
So, on top of winning the shootout, finished second in the points to Kurt Smith for the championship for the season. Um, yeah, I know you kind of had to try to climb there late. I know you won a bunch of races, but how'd you feel about that? Was there anything you could have done differently to try to catch Kurt? Or was that a
Not
point
missing the first
250?
race probably would have went a long way. um,
I would
and then
hope.
I'd fought my way back, and then the North Wilkesboro thing really put a nail in the coffin. Like half the field didn't finish because of tire issues, including myself. Um, so yeah, that kind of put the nail in the coffin. So at that point, the focus kind of shifted. I was close to the 100-win career mark for BRL, so I kind of focused on that to get over that hump, and we managed to get there.
Well, we talk here now about your regular weekly series that BRL runs and your success that you've had in there and whatnot. And yeah, the way the BRL points are structured, that missing that one race, that's huge in that series. So, um, do you kind of tying this to the shootout a little bit? And I know you said you weren't expecting to take tires, but knowing you had that extra set of tires, I mean, did that change at least the mindset a little bit? I know the plan was to not, but was it nice knowing it was in the back pocket if you needed it or anything like that that allow you to
Uh,
do something a little different?
it probably would have, depending on where I was, probably would have changed the outcome a little bit more. But like if I would have been eighth or ninth or 10th or something, yeah, I probably would have came got him. But you just can't give up that track position to come in and take them. Um, it's just not easy to pass. So yeah, I felt like it was just a disadvantage to come in and get tires just because you got to go through all those guys again. And, you never know what's going to happen. And when you're already at the front, there's very little that will probably happen to get wrecked or this or that or the other. So you just stay up there and see what happens. And that was my plan all along.
Yeah, the other big difference too, I guess, having the tires in the rule package was the qualifying. Now I know you didn't get to get a shot at qualifying there, but um, what'd you think of being able to qualify? Because just for folks that don't know, the regular BRL, the field is always set by the previous week. They invert, what is it, the 12 now that they invert?
13.
13 now that they invert. Baker's dozen there. They invert. So if you finish 13th, you're on the pole next week. Um, what did you think of the contrast of that?
Yeah, I mean, qualifying's always cool when you get a chance to do it. um, but yeah, I mean, it's always good the further you can start up there, the better. But I actually kind of like starting in the back. It's fun, makes it interesting. You get to face some new challenges that you don't necessarily get to face when you start on, first or second or third. Just kind of makes you use your racecraft a little bit more, which I enjoy. So
See, Josh, that's now we know we're talking to a faster guy because faster guys, I don't mind starting in the back. That's a lot of fun. Us slow guys, it's like, oh man, those are tough weeks. We always want to be in the front no matter what.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and with the
yeah,
with the BRL with the inversion, you get to go through it over and over and over again. So to me, starting in the back is not that big of a deal because you get to do it quite often. But
yeah.
um, yeah, you just kind of, and now that you've raced around all these guys forever, pretty much, you know how they're going to drive, and they're not going to do anything crazy on purpose or anything. So you just kind of go in there and do what you got to do.
Next time I'm in front of you, I'm just gonna start weaving everywhere to throw you a loop. It sounds like you
That's
know
for
where
you to do
everything's
that.
going. Yeah, I'll just gonna become a moving chicane here. I think that sounds like that's the way to defend against you. It sounds like you got us all down in what we do, and yeah, that's probably my plan now.
He's gonna
It
make
might
it
work.
par
You
three
never
wide.
know.
I'll work on getting me probably turned around and backed into a wall.
No.
Well, I mean, sometimes you can predict, and sometimes you can't react, quite as quick.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah, just start swerving back and forth. You never know.
yeah, that's the game plan from here on out. That's what I'm going to try doing. That's probably my secret of even having a prayer to stay up front anytime I start up there.
So
Josh, you got a
speaking of
question?
yeah, so speaking of the being three wide, whatever you want. I know last week talking to a couple other guys. They were talking about the multi grooves with this racetrack. I missed the race. I was out of state. So I was curious if that actually came into play. Did that make it any interesting, anything like that, or was it pretty much a one lane kind of
There was a
race?
few guys making the top work. Um, I'm just not that guy. I try. I don't go up to the top ever unless absolutely have to. I'm a bottom feeder, so. But I saw a few guys making it work, so it was there. I just never went up there.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that stuff. It's people anticipate it, and I'm just sometimes where I've anticipated in a track, and you go there, and it's like throughout the race, you try it a couple times, and it's just not there, and it's like where what's happening? So missing the race, I was curious if that was coming into play.
Yeah, it was like Jeffrey Harden. He fended off. He was a beast up there last night. He fought off Trey for, oh God, I don't know, 30 laps, and then I finally got up there beside him, and he fended me off for, I don't know, 15, um, and got back by me, and then I made another run at it and finally got it to go through. But he was making it work really well.
Was it ever in the back of your mind? You're sitting there racing him, and he's on the outside holding you off, and you're like, "Am I just destroying my right front doing this? Like, what am I doing?"
Um, I was a little worried about it, but I was still running the same lap times that I started the race with, so I wasn't too concerned about it. But yeah, you don't want to stay there very long, and so yeah, eventually you just got to go in there and do what you got to do to get by.
See, I got a solution for both of you. You should come run dirt, and you'll get used to running the high side. We drive to the wall, then turn. So
We'll be there in the midgets.
you're gonna run the midgets.
Oh yeah, we're running it.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to compete with you in that. So
You don't have to look for me to do anything great there. But the asphalt side, the sprint cars and stuff, that's fine. But the dirt, don't expect too much.
Now, if you want
yeah,
me on dirt, it's got to be like the Volkswagen. I think it's the only thing I've ever run and actually ran decent with.
yeah. For those of you who don't know, BRL next season is going to be, running a very unique series, and it's called the USAC Sprint Trial, which we will talk about in another episode, I think, down the road here a little bit. And it's going to combine the dirt midget, the dirt 9360, the silver crown, and the asphalt sprint car. Basically, like a real live USAC season. They run everywhere and with all these cars. Um, iRacing, if you're listening, we need a dirt Silver Crown car, but I'll another argument for another day. But that is going to be a lot of fun. That is going to be a challenge because the one thing about all four, the midget's probably the easiest to drive out of the four of them. The other three are actively trying to kill you every lap, and that's going to make that series a lot of fun. So, but going back here to the asphalt side of BRL and your path, real quick here. This was like I said, an all-star race. You had qualified. So tell everybody how you qualified to be eligible for this. There was a non-qualifiers race for folks that hadn't met the criteria, and I'll get to that in just a second. But how did you meet your criteria to get in there?
I got in for past champion. But I think, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how far back it goes, but I think if you're a winner in the previous season, you get
Yep.
in also. Um, so yeah, that's the two ways you make it, as far as I know.
Yeah, and you actually accomplished both. You have won championships within the last
Yeah.
year. Well, it passed anyway, and you've won races obviously the last year. So very unique. That to me, that you say it's not for bragging rights. To me, that always makes it just a little more unique because you're kind of you've got the best of the best that have come back and running that thing. So it's a unique. I do think there's bragger rights, so you should brag a little bit about having that.
It was cool seeing, seeing like Donnie back in there last night. It was cool to see him back in there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, what'll be cool, I'll bet for you, is next year when they roll around the 11th annual Stone River Shootout. You're going to see past champions, and your name's going to be up there with Matt and Jr. and Donnie. I mean, that's got to be cool every year.
Yeah, I mean those guys are great, and they won a lot of races in this league. So yeah, and to be on a list like that is always good.
So let's switch over to kind of BRL here a little bit. Let's kind of maybe dial into that. The Are you going to be back this next season? Are you going to be able to make all the events here? You
Yeah, I
said you
should be
missed the
able to
first
make them
one
all
this
this
one.
time. I had went out of town the first race of last season, so obviously I couldn't race then. But I don't have anything planned for the upcoming season, so I should be around for all of them.
You have any goals or anything in mind that I mean, is it, hey, I want to win, just I'm there to win races, or hey, I want this
Um,
championship? I mean, what do you tend to focus more on, the first few weeks of the season?
the late model stuff, the goal is definitely to win a championship, and to win some races too. With the sprint car thing, it's just to run well. I don't have any high expectations of going out and winning any of these dirt races. Maybe I'll go on to surprise some people. I don't know, but I don't expect that. Especially with guys like you and Chris Davis and all these fast guys I hear about. So yeah, not expecting much there, but maybe the asphalt side of sprint car stuff, maybe we can grab a few. But yeah, other than that, just have a little bit of fun.
Have you driven the asphalt stuff? Either the
I haven't
Pro
driven
Grip?
any midgets, anything. So it's going to
Well, I'm
be
going to tell
a
you the one that you're going to probably be pleasantly surprised in, which we did, BRL did this a couple of years ago, and the the Silver Crown car was insanely fun. I mean, it really, really was. I couldn't believe how much fun that car was. You will love that car, I'll bet. Once you get in there and turn laps in it and figure it out, I will be. We'll have to revisit this. I'll probably have to send you a note. Okay, now what do you think? But I'll bet you will love that Silver Crown car.
yeah. I feel like I can at least adapt to it. Just trying to figure out this dirt stuff is going to be something. And I literally just bought all this stuff the other day, so I haven't tested it. We'll test it on October the 4th. We'll test it out and see how it feels. um, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
So have you guys? I'm not 100% on this. Was the schedule released for next season for the late models, or
It
is that
has been
still in?
released. Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, if there is one race that you kind of have circled and ready to go, what race is that?
Um. Well, since Five Flags is my favorite track on the service, it's the one I always kind of go towards. Do we even race? Yeah, we race it. Okay. But yeah, Five Flags, Nashville is always good to me. Um, there's a bunch of good ones that are good to me, but Five Flags is my favorite track, so I always look forward to going there.
And I always got to ask this question as a follow-up. Please tell me Stafford's on that schedule.
It's
No,
not.
It's not on
no,
the schedule. I'm upset
Not.
now.
no.
Lowell, we're gonna have a talk.
Yeah, it's not on this next one here, but I'll tell you, there's some fun tracks for the schedule coming up. I always like the challenge of Kern. That's like the second race in, so that'll be a lot of fun.
It's a good one.
Yeah, Wilkesboro will be back on it. It's cool. And then Wilkesboro just had a facelift, so
Yeah,
Wilkesboro is going to look a little different when we get there. That for opening night, it's going to look different than what we've had there in the past. But yeah, but James, you're gonna have to wait for Five Flags. That's gonna be your Christmas come
yeah. It's at
early.
the
That's
end of the
way,
year. Yeah,
yeah. That'll be well. You know what though? I always like it when I see a track that I really like though at the end of the year, because it's like, okay, if I'm committed to something or in a race, points race or title race or whatever, I like seeing them. I don't know how you feel, but I like seeing those at the end of the year, because it's like, okay, I can close this thing out by running, at one of my favorite tracks. That's always a nice thing. Do you
yeah.
feel that way?
The last two races of the year are definitely in that ballpark for me.
Nashville being the other one then.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I love Nashville.
there's not too many bad tracks on here. Obviously, North Wilkesboro was not kind to me last time around, but
Now the
Lanier's
facelift might change
replacing
that.
Stafford. You'll be happy to know, Buckley. Um, but
Just
yeah,
needle
that
it
should be
further.
that should be interesting. Lanier's always interesting when we go race there, so it should be a
Yeah. And
good time.
I'll give you a fair warning about the sprint car side of thing. They open at Kern, and Kern is a bugger of a track.
Oh, I could
That's
imagine. Yeah,
that one there is going to be. Now the Silver Crown car will probably be a lot of fun there. The sprint car will be a handful, but the dirt side of that, whew, that's going to be. Yeah, that's gonna be. You're gonna see a lot of guys have a lot of issues probably there, but
I'll probably be one of them.
it's a lot of fun though. I mean, I'm a dirt guy, so of course I'm going to be a little biased on it because man, you really have to throw those cars around there to get around there, and
Yeah.
that'll be fun. Um, but I'll probably be in the minority. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a great season next coming up here for BRL. Something new on that front. And I mean, I guess what we're talking about, they're switching cars on Friday nights too. For the dirt, they're going to switch over from the late model to the big block modified. So, Josh, you don't run dirt, but man, those things are big in your neck of the woods. So maybe you should, you know, come play in the clay with us a little bit.
Yeah, I'd put it on the website to join that one, and I'll have to
Did
talk
you?
to Lowell about that because I haven't got anything back on it yet.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that car is a lot. As much as I hate to say, because I'm a late model guy, I love late models through and through. But that car is a little easier to drive. That car is actually harder to drive under caution than it is racing
yeah,
because of the suspension. I mean, you're doing this more under caution, trying not to hit the guy next to you, especially like on a restart, than you are when you're racing. Um, so racing, for whatever reason, once you get it and everything gets down on the bars and the suspension's working properly, the cars go straight and they're easy to drive. But um, under caution, you're going to be like, what? The first time you go out and you're going slow under caution, you're probably going to be going, what on earth is this? Um,
Why am I fighting this wheel?
well, and it's that's it with that. I mean, it is. You guys, if you join, get out there and do it. You'll see. It's hard to explain, but it's very darty. And you can't, like a sprint car, you can steer with the throttle a little bit. Give it a little gas, it'll straighten out, do this kind of stuff. That modified, all you can do is just back forth, back forth. You feel like you've got those drunk goggles on. You remember back in high school they put the beer goggles on to simulate how you would. That's how you'll feel in that modified under caution. So, um, which can be fun, I suppose, for some folks. But so you said that your goals are a championship in the late model. So we'll go back to your bread and butter here for a little bit. You said it's kind of evolved a little bit. Um, so talk about that evolution for a little bit. You're right now, when you show up, I can tell you, watching the broadcast and being a part of a few of the races and even being on the broadcast, if you're in the field, you're always one of the guys to beat. Now, I can remember your first stint in BRL, and granted, there was a JR Shepherd in the field. You were one of the faster guys, but you weren't that guy to beat, one of the guys to beat. So tell me a little bit about that evolution for you.
I kind of look at it in comparison to, like they say, an NFL quarterback. How after so long, it just kind of everything just kind of slows down.
Mhm.
And I think that when I first started sim racing, you go out there and you force the issue and you just try way too hard, and yeah, it just normally doesn't work out for you, especially when you got guys back there that know how to save tires and know how to run long races. So it's just something you have to figure out after a while, and it finally clicked. And just running a bunch of different leagues, cup cars, these cars, all kinds of different cars. It finally just clicked, a few years ago, and everything's just kind of slowed down, and I'm not too concerned about getting to the front fast. I feel like I can get there, but I don't need to get there in 20 laps. Um, so I think that's the biggest part of it. It's just everything's just kind of slowed down for me.
Did you have any equipment upgrades that helped you along the way? You think that because for instance, my biggest upgrade was my pedals. When I got the right pedals to be able to dance on the pedals a little bit, that made a huge difference. I mean, an extra tenth at least on those short tracks.
Yeah, when I first joined back in the BRL way back in the day, I had a Thrustmaster something another, um, and their pedals, so probably not the greatest, but it made them work. And but then I went to the Fanatec V3s like everybody does, and that was kind of the jumping off point, and it's been just a dark cycle ever since. I got a whole closet full of. If anybody needs any sim racing gear out there, hit me up. I got plenty. I'll sell it to you cheap. Um, but yeah, I got a
Well, it
whole
depends
closet
what you
full of
got.
stuff.
I
I
mean,
get
what?
what you name it, I got it. What are you looking for? I could open up
That
my own
that
store.
is the very reason Lowell and a few other folks have tried to get me to do the flight sim. I've got Microsoft Flight Sim. I've got a really cheap, yoke and pedals, and I have barely used them because I just know I'll go down that very rabbit hole if I start flying planes. Next thing I'll know,
Yeah.
I'll need, this, and this, and
Have multiple computers for one for sim racing, one for the
yeah, we
flight sim.
won't name names, but I do know somebody that has
We might
their
know
hand in
somebody.
this show. Yeah, in this show that I do think has a couple of setups, and seeing what, as soon as I saw that he had that, my no
Uh,
became a hell no, because it was like, yeah, no, I like being married. That would be that and fantasy sports. Can't do fantasy sports because I know I go down in a rabbit hole and not be seen, depending on the season I go in on. So yeah, the pedals, yeah, you moving up to the V3s. I think most guys have those. Um, and that was a big difference. But that's a neat thing to say. Everything slows down for you. That's a great analogy with the quarterbacks because you'll be in a short track series. Things happen on a short track way faster than they do um, in the bigger, mile and a half, 2 mile tracks. You get NASCAR on. So yeah, very cool that analogy.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of, especially in the beginning, you kind of start panicking too. So like when somebody's catching up to you, or you're not able to make a pass, you kind of get a little anxious, and all that stuff kind of goes away after a while, and makes it a lot more enjoyable for sure. Um, yeah, you're just not really trying too hard. You're not a try hard. So
Yeah, I mean, and for me, I know the biggest thing that I had to try to recalibrate, and I'll still do it probably to an extent, depending on situation or who I'm around. But sometimes just because you have an opportunity to pass, you don't always have to take that opportunity, because that opportunity will turn into a forced situation just because it happened. Even though that hole is there, a millisecond later, that hole is closed, and you know,
yeah, and I'm
realizing
not
those.
perfect.
No, no, and
There's still times now to where I'll be like, I really need to get around this guy, and I'll slip up, and things happen, and I'll
well,
have
they
to
do. And
apologize after the fact.
look, if you've entered a race, multiple races, everybody's been there, done that, and you'll continue to do that. I mean, you're still racing. It's not a matter of, oh, we're all driving down the highway and, oh, that lane's open. I'll go over to that lane and drive around this guy. We're racing, and in asphalt, there's a very small window there to get through things, so it's easy to do. Um, the we're talking about your racecraft and the evolution of that, though. But what about the pace? Because that's one thing that you have improved on. You're quicker. Take cars off the track, so you don't have to worry about the racetrack, but your pace is quicker. So tell me about that. Where did you? Because I would have to say you are a full. I'll go even a tenth and a half, 2/10 quicker than you were your first go around in BRL, and that's huge. So where did you find that?
um, it's really just I'm not a big practicer. Anybody who joins these races knows that I run a little bit at the front end, a little bit at the back end, and I call it a day. Um, what I mainly focus on is I focus on a pace that I feel like is fast enough, um, that I feel like I get through the race. And then when the race starts, I literally run that pace the whole race. I don't deviate. It's the same lap. If you watch from my in car, it's the boringest thing you ever seen. It's the same lap every lap, time after time, until you get out into some clean air and you can push it a little bit and go for a fast lap or something. But I don't really care about much of that. But yeah, that's the major ticket is I focus. I spend 10 laps in the front end of practice, get my offset to where I need it because there's a lot of advantages there if you can figure that part out. Um, and then once I get the offset where I need it, I'll go back out at the end of the run, when the track's nice and rubbered up, and I'll try to work out a pace that I feel like is going to make it to the end.
Don't mind me. I'm just taking notes here on how to get
Hey,
faster.
go for it, man. And
Yeah,
I'm
the offset brake
anybody who
bias.
ever anybody who ever wants to ask questions, please feel free. I'm always around. Just hit me up on Discord or whatever. I don't have any secrets. I want everybody to do well. So
See, look at
if
that.
you
He's willing to help everybody out. I like it.
Well, you'll find that a lot in BRL. There's a lot of different guys. I mean, I've seen it on no matter what BRL does. I've seen guys help other guys on the road side of things. I've seen guys help guys on the dirt side of things, and that's a cool thing about BRL. You know, and I think that comes from the group is a majority of the group has been together now for years. So, you know,
No, but that's a
uh,
good thing because not every league is like that. So it's definitely cool.
no,
I know with my league, we sit there and practice, and people will be like, How can you do that? What are you running?" People are completely open. They'll be like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. If it works for you, this is the information." So when you get leagues that do that, it's really cool, and it's about a lot of camaraderie kind of deal. So especially when you've been around for as long as BRL has, and the majority of the guys that have been around for as long as they are, it's a really cool thing.
yeah, and a lot of people can, do draw contests between open set leagues and fixed leagues, and I've done both. And I used to build the wing sprint cars for Gambler. I'm the one that always built the sets for us to run. And as much as I'll help people with fundamentals of racing, but in that league, I would not give away what I was doing because I would spend an hour and a half fine tuning a car to get ready to run on Monday night. And again, that takes some of that camaraderie away because you know you're talking simple 1-2 adjustments that you can make in these fixed leagues. It's not rocket science, and plus it
Yeah, I
makes
think
for better
that's the
competition.
I think that's the problem is with it being fixed sets. There's a lot of drivers that maybe it's like, oh, what's a fixed set? There's nothing you can do to make it better.
Yeah,
But there is.
Yeah, to say.
You can do. I mean, you can only change two things, but those two things make a big difference in how the car feels, and depending on your driving style. Obviously, what I do might not necessarily work for you, but um, if you play around with it, you'll eventually find it to where it'll feel better for you. So um, yeah, that was my biggest secret. It was last season, probably about 3 or 4 races in, I stumbled upon an offset that I really enjoy, and I've used it every week since, and it's worked great. So um, yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, steering ratio is one for me that seems to be I'm different, and I find interesting. So say the setup is base 8-1. A lot of guys stick with it. They're like, oh, this is great. For me, that doesn't work. I always go to at least 10-1, sometimes 12. Biggest thing is how loose the car is. Argument for me doesn't seem to work for everybody, but I find it really interesting. The reason I do that is if the car is loose and you're trying to correct it and you don't want to overcorrect, I think with the 8-1, you don't have to put as much wheel in, but I'm still trying to correct it. So what happens? I overcorrect. Next thing you know, you're slapping the outside wall with the nose because you just really oversteered it. However, 10-1, 12-1, I'm not doing that. I'm able to, catch the car a lot easier, things like that. I've tried telling people that, and they'll be like, "That doesn't work for me." And I'm like, I'm just like you're saying. Hey, it works for me. That's what works for me. So when you said that, I thought that was kind of interesting because that's my thing with the steering ratio stuff.
I'll give away one little tidbit here on our chat today. If the car is loose, especially coming off the corner, go down on your offset a little bit, and you'll be surprised by the results. That's all I'll say here. But and
yeah,
you'll
Back
be
to the notes.
surprised about how much tire you'll save too. So just something out there.
Especially when you don't get an extra set.
Exactly.
yeah. The offset for me, and I don't know again because I have more of a dirt background, so I'm a lot busier on the wheel. I always go to the fastest offset that I can get, the lowest number. Um, and even on dirt, I go to the quickest because you want to be fast on that wheel. And for whatever reason, I've tried going to like you said the 10-1, and I feel like I'm ahead of it. I feel like I turn in the car. It takes that car an extra millisecond to react, and it drives me crazy because it's like turn so it is driver specific.
Yeah, I use 12-1 on modifieds and late models. I don't care where we go.
You go that high? Wow.
Yeah, and I do 10-1 in the street stocks.
See, he's got a whole layout. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, but
I
that
mean, it works, so can't really argue it. But
yeah, and the thing is that's how racing works. I don't care if it's sim or if it's in real life. The driver comfort equals speed. The more the driver feels comfortable with the car and doing what he wants to do with the car, faster he's going to go. And so there's really no wrong answer, I don't think, to set up, because to James's point, he makes his tires last, except for North Wilkesboro, we learned. Um, and he can drive to the front, at a very high ratio. Opposite end of the spectrum, I can get to an end of a race. I'm not as quick as James, but that's a talent issue. And do the same thing, because just different feels and everything else. It doesn't, like I said, doesn't make one better than the other. And to James's point, for everybody listening, the best piece of advice is use your practice time. Don't go out there and try just to get to the top of the ego sheet. Go out there and A and B test with some of those ratios. You know, you go out, run 5-10 laps with it set at 8-1. Come back in, look at your tire wear, look at everything, go back out, you push it up to 10-1, go back out, run 5-10 laps, same amount of time, see how it feels, look at your lap times, look at your tire wear. That's how you figure out where your sweet spot is. I mean, I'm going to assume, James, that's kind of what you were doing until you got it dialed in and you got to where what you want.
Yeah, and once you figure it out, so like for the late models, once you figure out, say, oh, I've run good with, let's say, 14-1, who knows, but once you find where it works at one track, put the same thing in everywhere you go. It works the same everywhere. So
Yeah, the funny thing about iRacing is, all the sets aren't that far apart.
yeah, they're all
Um,
pretty similar.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how it is on the asphalt, but even the dirt side of things, I would build my own set, and it would end up running 3/10 faster than the iRacing set. But there were certain tracks that I could go in with the iRacing set. I could run every bit as quick as what I could build, and so the iRacing sets have gotten a lot better, which is nice. Um, because I remember back in the day when the iRacing sets were junk. I mean, no disrespect to iRacing, but they were the cars. It seemed like they always went. And iRacing's in a tough position because they don't want to trick a car out, because when you do that, you probably make that car undrivable for half the people running it. Um, so they've got to put very neutral cars on the track, and that's the only drawback to a fixed, I think, sometimes, because we've all been there where, man, I wish the gear was just a little bit higher here. You get just that better drive off the corner. But they overall do a good job at making them pretty neutral cars. But yeah, those little tweaks there that you can make and find during practice, James, you hit the nail on the head. It can make a big difference. Um, so I hope you got all your notes there, Josh. There,
I'm
loose, go
trying.
down on the.
Yep, jotting it
So
away.
now
Um,
next time BRL or anybody watching, now there's got to be like pack racing at the front now. So if that happens, we know who to blame.
yeah, we know who watched the show.
That's true.
Yep.
There you go.
So actually, speaking of that, with the new season coming up for BRL, the late models is an invitational only series, right?
Right.
Yep.
So for those that might not know, how, if they were interested, how do they go about trying to maybe potentially get into it for next season?
Um, go
They
to
have to run. They have to run the sprint car series.
yeah. Well, first they would have to go to bootlegracingleague.com
That's true.
and sign up. Um, but yeah, after that, you have to run the feeder series for a while before you get invited up to the invitational series. So if you can come in and you can show that you're a clean driver, I don't make these decisions, so I'm just
Well,
speaking from what
but
I
you're
know.
right though. We've been around BRL. Speed doesn't matter. It's being a clean driver and not being a knucklehead. If you can
Yeah,
prove
and
that over a
showing you have
season or
some
two.
some sort
Yep.
of racecraft, and you know, yeah,
Yeah, and if you do sign up, interested in that sprint car league or the big blocks, or even wanting to run the tour late model there, make sure you look at the car numbers and pick a car number not used. I've just heard through the grapevine anyway through the years that people don't always do that. So make sure you look at those car numbers too. There's my
Definitely look at the
there's my
roster.
PSA announcement for the
Yep.
the, the show.
I always tell everybody, make sure you look at the roster and pick a number that is not already taken.
Yep, yep, and You know, Josh, you're an owner, so since you're the only owner that's on the on the broadcast with, I'm going to pick on you for a minute here.
Uh-oh.
You league owners got to allow for more than one. I mean, you know, you go to a short track race, there's always a couple numbers, multiple cars. It's not unusual. Um, you know, can I ask just because I don't know if you do it or not, so I'm just curious, and there's no wrong answer, so I'm not really picking on you, but
Mhm.
um, what goes into the decision between saying I'm going to run, I want 51, but 51 is taken, so can I run 151 and keep the 51 on my car? Because if you go to almost any short track in America, and cars tours even allow on this, I think now you can have multiple of the same number. So just out of curiosity, so people can kind of understand the logic behind that, because
Yeah, so
I do think there's a good reason why.
yeah, no,
I
I
know
mean,
there is.
every league's going to do it different, and to each their own. Like you said, there's really no wrong answer. If you actually notice, you pay attention to my modified really closely. It is a 13 with a little MA next to it. Living in Massachusetts, so that way, some leagues you run into that someone's already taken the 13, but custom numbers are a thing. You went and you paid however much to have this paint scheme done with this custom number on it, but you can't run the 13. Which some leagues, one number has that number, and that's fine. To each their own. Um, you can always do it a little different. Some leagues do it like what we'll do is someone really adamant about running the 13. I'll put you in iRacing as like the 013, just so it registers. But obviously, with having the custom, paint scheme, it's going to show just the 13, and that's fine. Like if you're going to be the one, some people do it where they put like a tiny one in front of the 13, so it'll be 113, but it's a tiny one, and then your normal 13. Um, there's multiple ways to do it. Again, it's going to be to each their own on
Well,
what
here
they
I
feel is
was
best.
thinking it was going to be because it's a broadcast and the ticker, you don't want to confuse people, but or confuse the announcers.
Oh, there's multiple ways to do it.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people, and it's just to each their own. And then other people, they just, look at the roster. If the number's already taken, figure out something else, which I've done too. Like it's not an end of the world thing, but I know some people are dead set on the numbers, and I've seen some people not run a league because someone already had that number, and it's like I don't think it's that big of a deal. But like I said, to each their own. On running the league and the guys that want their numbers, but that's the way I approach it. Is just at the end of the day, it's just a number, and if you can make it work, make it work.
Yeah. Well, I was actually looking for the broadcast that makes it hard, and this is why, because I know there's a lot of people that complain about, well, I don't have, like you said, and I'll be honest, I'm one of those guys. I made the investment to get my car painted. If I can't run that number, I'll find something else to do. It's not a big deal to me one way or another. But um, people bag on leagues a lot because they don't allow it, and there are good reasons for it. Is kind of the point I was trying to make, and maybe you shouldn't bag on the league. you know it's go find something else to do. There's only 10,000 other leagues out there.
Yeah, there's plenty. There are plenty.
Yeah, yeah, so it's fine. And yeah, anyway, pulling everything back here to kind of the BRL and looking at next season here. James, you were talking about running the sprint car. Are you going to run all four of those sprint cars, or are you just going to try the midgets and the couple of the asphalt, or
No,
what are you
we're gonna give them all a shot.
going to give them all a shot?
I got my
Awesome.
Coming for
buddy.
them all.
Yeah, I got a buddy who I race with a lot in other leagues, and he's coming to join us, so he'll be running them too. So yeah, we're giving it a shot and seeing how we do.
That's freaking awesome.
That means you
Now
got
I'm kind of
competition, John.
well. That's good. Well, yeah, first of all, the only car that I think I will be quasi decent in is a non-wing 360. Um, the midget, eh, the asphalt stuff. I am going to be lucky to be a mid-pack guy in those. If I'm anything other than that, I will be surprised. Um, and I'll be honest with you, if I'm any further up than mid pack, that's not a, I'm not going to feel like that's a me thing. That's an indictment on the guys that are ahead of me because of or behind me, because I should probably be at the back of those packs. To be honest with you, those
Well,
things just way out of my realm.
just make sure that you do not lose the tennis balls on your Granny Hips Walker there, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's those cars. Like I said, they're way out of my realm, and I'm gonna run them because they're because of the challenge, but Yeah, no real hopes of
No
anything
high
on that asphalt.
expectations.
Not on the asphalt side. The non-wing 360 I'm looking for. Um, Historically, I've done well in those cars, so it's a car I like. Um, so we'll have to see. But yeah, anybody out there, like James was saying, go out to bootlegracing.com and sign up for that. It's something different. I don't know that anybody else in iRacing is actually doing something like that. So it's a very unique opportunity. We talked about there's 10,000 other leagues out there, which is true, but I don't think any of them is going to give you this opportunity to mix all of those like that.
Definitely a unique one.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get through that. So, um, you know, James, I guess one other question I have for you is, we'll go back to your evolution. Um, as you gain speed, and this is something that I think goes unnoticed a lot. Did you have to change your racecraft? Did your racecraft change because all of a sudden your closing rate on cars changes when you get speed? Your ability to make passes changes. So did your racecraft, do you feel like your racecraft or how you raced, did it change any as you gain pace there?
Yeah, you definitely learn how to, how to build a run or, um, yeah, what you need to do to get up under. Like if you need to go up a little high in the corner and cut down to get up under a guy, you kind of learn all those things as you go along. Um, but yeah, the majority of it is just learning how to save tires and all the stuff that is not fun and nobody wants to do, but it's kind of a necessity. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's just I've never really drove into the corners hard, so I haven't really had to unlearn anything. So I've always done it kind of that way. So
Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
even think about that. Your corner entry, because I mean, when I say you're probably a tenth and a half, 2 tenths quicker, people that aren't familiar, oh, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it really is because you're probably carrying more speed down the straight. I never even thought about that, your corner entry, and you didn't feel like you changed any of, your corner entry, how you were you rolling the car, and
no,
wow,
there was times back in the day where I would force the issue and push it in there hard when I was trying to shove somebody, like get by somebody or whatever. Um, but that's since gone away, so I don't do that anymore. So yeah, now it's just basically, in slow, out fast kind of thing, and um, yeah, hope you don't get ran over going in slow.
Josh, any questions?
I think he's pretty much covered everything I got today.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, James, it was really cool talking to you and getting to know you. So, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on our show and giving us some time here to chit chat with you. And congratulations on the shootout win. I know you're kind of humble about it, but it's a big deal, man, and it's pretty cool. So congratulations to that. But before we go, we got to do just a little bit of housekeeping. VGN, every week we broadcast a bunch of races, and that's kind of what we do here on the show. Kind of talk about the different leagues. So this week there's some fun races that are going to be broadcast on VGN here, and I'll start with Sunday night. The OBRL is going to be at the Kansas Speedway. Do either one of you guys have a whole lot of experience there at Kansas?
Quite a bit, yeah.
I've
What's
been there a few times.
So what do you guys think of that track? It's actually I like the track because that's one of those where the driver has options. You can run all over. Um, but what are you guys' initial thoughts on Kansas as a track?
Um, it's just one of those places where it's easy to go in there and really push it hard and get yourself in trouble. So I think whoever goes in there with a good state of mind and takes care of their equipment, takes care of their tires, will be the one to look out for at the end.
No, absolutely. Kansas is I don't know if the new Cup car runs the same way, but it's a
Yeah,
lot of up towards the wall. And you said, James said it. It's just you can't push it too hard into the corner. You're gonna drift up, almost like a Darlington. You're gonna drift up, and you touch that wall, you're stuck, and good luck, and everyone goes sailing by. So if it stays to that, that's pretty much what it is. So you find the sweet spot of entering in just enough, but not too hard, and just letting that car roll and take back off, and then just keeping those right side tires on you because you don't want to wear them out too fast.
yeah. I don't know where we were, but it seems like I know because I was in the booth and The previous race that we went there, like you said, the fastway round was outside, right up against the boards. When we came back after the June update, I think it was, the quick way around became the bottom line
Oh,
and going
I
to
haven't
top.
been there for a
So
while then, I guess.
yeah, so I forgot where it was. Well, it wasn't Kansas. It was a different track where
Oh, okay.
the rule of thumb was get up, run the boards.
Hmm.
And when we came back, it was right on the bottom. So having that new model out there between the new tire model and the new aero model, that is a track where aero can go into a lot of what you do. You know, you're going to be able to, guys are going to take the air off of each other going into the corner. So I think that's going to provide a really good race. OBRL is such a great series. I mean, we raced at Darlington twice this year, and I think they had one caution between the two races.
Yeah, those guys,
I,
they got the way they race. It's crazy with the cleanliness that they do and the respect they
yes.
have on the track. It just, I mean, and if you watch the races, you're going to see it. So definitely, if you haven't seen one of those races, you want to see something really cool, check that out tonight.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I think the races are usually better than their real world counterparts. So, take that for what it is. But the other race this week is gonna be the yesteryear 1966 Tour Modified season, and it's going into an old friendly track that I know both of you guys have a lot of laps on. Those guys are gonna be at the Oxford Plains Speedway. So I'll start with you, James. What are your thoughts at Oxford?
I'm actually be making my debut this week, so we're going to find out.
Oh,
No, I
nice.
really like Oxford. It's tight quarters there, so there might be some calamity, but yeah, if you can keep your right front on it, you'll be doing pretty good. This whole having tires and long races thing, I don't know. We'll see how the strategy works out, but yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, just be used to turning like this. It feels
Yeah,
like you're never
Yeah,
gonna leave this situation when you're
yeah,
turning the
pretty
wheel.
much.
It's like, wait, we're still turning. We're still turning. Where's the straightaway? Oh wait, it's Oxford.
yeah.
There really isn't one.
If your wheel is straight more than 3 seconds a lap, you're probably not running the track right. Um, the other thing about that too is that last time I ran there, I found myself leaning in my seat like this most of the race. So, um, you know, it- yeah, I'm not a fan of that track because it's usually a one lane track. It's really difficult to get anything else kind of rolling there, but it's got a lot of history to it, though. It's kind of falls into the Staffords and places like that, especially for those modifieds. Um, Big time historic track, historic race. You can tune in Tuesday night, basically to see that one here. So that would be a good race to have. And that's really BRL is going to be having the week off, which I'm really glad I looked at the schedule because I thought we were starting this week. So it's been a little embarrassing if I was sitting in the Discord channel by myself, thinking, man, either everybody hates me and doesn't want to run, or something's wrong. But so it'll be another good week here, and then of course we'll be back next Tuesday, which will be a lot of fun here. And I think scheduled next Tuesday is going to be, we're talking about the National Sprint Car Trail returning to the BRL. So that'll be a topic which for me will be a lot of fun because that's going to be a great topic for me. So that'll be our topic next week. So please come on back, check that out. But until then, we thank you for watching. On behalf of Josh Buckley, I am John Hine. We will see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of VGN Weekly. Join us next time for race recaps, interviews, and much, much more. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network and the Skinner Creek Motorsports Group.